Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Fall is just around the corner, and today I wanted to share with you guys a really easy and delicious cake recipe that you'll be enjoying all season long. Today I'm going to be making my caramel apple cake with whipped cream topping. This cake is just bursting with so much incredible fall flavors. We're going to start with a simple caramel cake batter, add some diced apples in there, a little bit of cinnamon, and then finish off the cake with some whipped cream, a little bit of homemade caramel sauce. This cake is just so delicious. I'm going to be using my homemade caramel sauce recipe, and I use this recipe for all of my desserts. It's super easy to make. I'm going to include the link for the caramel sauce and the recipe for this cake down in the video description box below, so make sure to check that out. And now let's get started on this easy and delicious recipe. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and now I'm going to get started on my caramel cake batter. So into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add in half a cup of buttermilk. Pour that right in. Next up, we have 2 large eggs. Next, I have a 1/4 cup of oil. You can also use melted butter. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Half a cup of white granulated sugar. And half a cup of my homemade caramel sauce. If you don't have the time to make caramel, you could also use store-bought caramel sauce or even a can of dulce de leche. So I'm going to pour that right in. And I'm going to grab my hand mixer and give this a mix for a couple minutes until the eggs are well beaten. Moving on to the dry ingredients, today I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour. To that I'm going to be adding in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and about 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to mix this all together. And once I have those dry ingredients ready, I'm going to sift them straight into my caramel cake batter. And then grab my hand mixer and mix this all together. And you want to mix this on low speed for about 1 minute, just until that flour is incorporated. My caramel cake batter is all done. I'm going to set it aside for now, and let's switch gears and prep the apples. So today I'm going to be using 2 large Granny Smith apples. You can use just about any variety that's firm and great for baking. You could peel these or leave the peel on. I'm going to leave the peel on for today, and we just need to dice the apples into small little bits. We're going to add some right into the cake batter and then some right on top. And I like to dice the apples into pea-sized pieces, so you have a little bit of apple in every single bite. And then transfer the diced apples into a large mixing bowl. And before I add these apples into my cake batter, I'm going to dress them with a little bit of cornstarch and cinnamon. So I have 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Just gonna grab a spoon and then toss this all together until the apple pieces are well coated. I'm going to add about 2/3 of these diced apples into the cake batter, and the rest we're going to reserve for the top. And then grab a spatula and just gently fold the apples in. And today for baking my cake, I'm going to be using a 1/8-inch springform pan. I've lined the bottom with parchment paper, and I've also sprayed down the sides with some nonstick baking spray. I'm going to transfer the cake batter into the prepared pan. And then sprinkle the remaining diced apples on top. And my caramel apple cake is ready to go into my preheated oven. I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 to 50 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Then I'm going to just take it out of the oven, let it cool completely on a wire rack, and then we'll come back to add our whipped cream and some more caramel sauce on top. My cake has cooled completely, and now I'm going to make my simple whipped cream. So I have 1 cup of chilled heavy cream. To that I'm going to add about 1/3 cup. You can add up to half a cup of confectioner sugar and about half a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to grab my hand mixer. You can also use a stand mixer for this, and whisk for about 3 to 4 minutes until stiff peaks form. My caramel apple cake has cooled completely and I just transferred it onto a cake stand. I want to make a really quick note. This cake is going to bake darker than, say, like a vanilla cake, and that's because we added that caramel directly into the cake batter, and the sugar crystals are going to bake a little bit differently. They're going to caramelize, and so you're going to have this dark edge, but that's not going to affect the taste at all. You're actually going to have this rich toffee kind of flavor from the cake edges. And now let's finish off the cake. So before I add my whipped cream topping, I'm actually going to add some apple butter. I have a separate video recipe for some homemade apple butter. I'll include that down in the video description box below. And I'm just gonna spoon on maybe half a cup of the apple butter. It's gonna add so much incredible apple flavor. You guys are gonna love it. Now you can also use some store-bought apple butter for this recipe. I'm going to grab a spatula and spread that apple butter evenly to the edges. And this version is spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and cloves, so it's going to add an incredible amount of flavor to this cake. Add on that prepared whipped cream next. It's going to taste so great with this cake. It's going to add a really light and fluffy element. And for garnishing the top, I like to sprinkle a little bit of ground cinnamon on the top. And I've transferred my homemade caramel sauce into a dispenser bottle. I'm going to drizzle some of this caramel over the top. And that is it, guys, for my easy caramel apple cake. I absolutely love how it turned out. The little bit of caramel drizzle on the top is just the perfect way to finish off this cake. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in the video description box. I have a link there that'll take you over to my website so you can print this recipe off and share it with your family and friends. I'm also going to leave a link down there in the video description box for my homemade apple butter, which you guys are going to love. Now, time to dig in and enjoy. And I love this pile of whipped cream on top of the cake. It's going to be so delicious. You can actually just see loads of apples right in the cake. You guys are gonna love how much apple flavor and apples there are in this cake. It is just bursting with so much incredible flavor. There's apple pieces in every single bite, and then I love adding that apple butter on top. It really amps up the apple flavor. And you have like a really light flavor of the caramel coming through. The cake itself is just so moist and delicate, and then adding that whipped cream on top, a little bit of that caramel drizzle, you are all good to go. I love that this cake isn't too sweet. It's not overwhelming. It's just something that you could sit down and enjoy after dinner. It's the perfect fall dessert. But don't forget to head on down in the video description box for the full recipe. I hope you guys enjoy this cake all season long. It's just so easy to make and so delicate and so delicious. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.